You want to know the difference between the man who runs the city and the man who gets run over by it. It isn't luck. It isn't who his father was. It's that one man learned to govern himself before he tried to govern anything else. Most people chase the empire before they can survive a single ordinary Tuesday. They want the money, the respect, the woman, the house on the hill, and they have not yet learned to control 1 hour of their own day. So today, before you chase anything else, you master 4 things: time, wealth, habits, health. In that order. Let me be clear about something from the start. Nobody is coming to organize your life. There is no rescue. The cavalry you're waiting for, it isn't coming over the hill. The sooner you accept that the weight of your existence sits squarely on your own shoulders, the sooner you stop performing and start building. Weak men wait for permission. They wait for the right moment, the right mood, the perfect conditions. The man who intends to win doesn't wait for conditions, he creates them. And he starts with the one resource that, once spent, never comes back. Chapter 1: Time. So we begin with time, because time is the only currency you cannot earn more of. You can lose money and make it back. You can ruin your reputation and rebuild it. You can fall ill and recover. But the hour you waste today is gone, permanently, and no amount of begging brings it back. Understand this fully, and you'll never look at a wasted afternoon the same way again. Here's what nobody tells you. You are not short on time. You are short on direction. The average man will tell you he's busy. He'll tell you he has no hours to spare. Then he'll spend 3 of them scrolling, 2 of them complaining, and 1 of them watching other men live the life he claims he wants. He is not busy. He is unfocused. And unfocused men stay exactly where they are for decades and call it fate. So the first thing you do is audit your hours like a man counting his enemies. For 1 week, you write down where every hour goes, not in your head, on paper, or on your phone, in plain numbers. You will be disgusted by what you find. You'll discover that the life you complain about is a life you are actively choosing, one small decision at a time. That disgust is useful. Hold on to it. It's the fuel that moves you. Now, once you know where your time bleeds, you stop the bleeding. You identify the 3 activities that genuinely move your life forward: the work that pays, the skill that compounds, the relationships that matter. And you protect those hours like a man guards his own front door. Everything else gets cut, delegated, or scheduled into a box where it cannot spread. You don't react to your day. You command it. Before you sleep each night, you decide the 3 things tomorrow will be built around. Then you wake and you execute before the world has a chance to make demands of you. Understand the difference between being busy and being effective, because this is where most men fool themselves for an entire lifetime. A busy man fills his hours. An effective man fills his hours with what matters. You can spend 12 hours running in every direction and accomplish nothing of value, then go to bed exhausted and proud of an exhaustion that built nothing. Activity is not achievement. Motion is not progress. The man who understands this stops measuring his day by how tired he feels and starts measuring it by what actually got built. Ask yourself at the end of each day, not, was I busy, but did I move forward? Those are 2 completely different questions, and only one of them matters. The morning belongs to you. Most men surrender it. They wake and immediately hand their attention to a screen, letting strangers and notifications set the tone of their mind before they've had a single thought of their own. You will not do this. The first hour of your day is sacred. No screen, no noise. You move your body. You sharpen your mind. You do the hardest task while your will is strongest. Win the morning and the day cannot break you. And learn the power of one word that weak men fear: no. Every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. The world will fill your calendar with other people's priorities if you let it. Successful men are not busier than failures. They are more ruthless about what they refuse. Guard your hours. Say no without apology and without a lengthy explanation. Your time is not a public resource. It belongs to you and the future you're building. You also have to kill the lie of multitasking because it is robbing you blind. The man who tries to do 5 things at once does all 5 of them badly. Your mind was not built to split itself across a dozen tasks. Every time you switch, you pay a tax, and that tax is your focus, your quality, your edge. The men who produce extraordinary work do one thing at a time with the full weight of their attention. They go deep while everyone else stays shallow. Single task with intensity. Finish one thing completely before you touch the next. Depth is where the value lives, and depth is exactly what the distracted man can never reach. There's one more thing about time, and it's the thing most men get wrong their entire lives. They think they're playing a short game. They make decisions to feel good today and pay for it for 10 years. The man who thinks in decades behaves completely differently from the man who thinks in moments. So ask yourself, with every significant choice, does this serve the man I intend to become 5 years from now? If it doesn't, you already have your answer. Patience is not weakness. Patience is a weapon that the impatient will never understand. Chapter 2. Wealth. Now we talk about wealth, and I want you to forget almost everything you've been told. Money is not evil. Poverty is not noble. A man without money has fewer choices, less freedom, and far less ability to protect the people he loves. Anyone who tells you to be content with nothing is usually someone who profits from you staying there. Wealth is freedom. Wealth is the ability to say no to a bad deal, to walk away from a bad situation, to build on your own terms. So we pursue it without shame and without apology. But here's the foundation everyone skips. You cannot build wealth if you spend everything you earn. The man who earns a fortune and keeps nothing is no richer than the man who earns little. The first rule of wealth is brutally simple. Spend less than you make, and the gap between those two numbers is where your future lives. Widen that gap. Every single month, a portion of what you earn does not get spent. It gets kept. It gets put to work. This is not optional. This is the price of admission. And understand the difference between looking rich and being rich, because most people get this catastrophically wrong. They buy the car, the watch, the clothes, the costume of wealth to impress people who don't care about them. They trade their actual freedom for the appearance of it. The truly wealthy man is often invisible. He doesn't need you to know what he has, because his security comes from his accounts, not from your applause. Stop performing wealth. Start accumulating it. Let them underestimate you. It's an advantage. You have to understand how debt works, because debt is the chain that keeps most men kneeling their entire lives. There is debt that builds and debt that buries. The man who borrows to acquire something that earns him more money is using a tool. The man who borrows to fund the lifestyle he cannot afford is digging his own grave one purchase at a time. Most men are drowning in the second kind, paying interest on yesterday's pleasures while their future quietly bleeds out. You break those chains first. You stop paying for a past you can't even remember enjoying. A man in debt is not free, no matter how nice his things look, because every month a portion of his life already belongs to someone else. Now, saving alone won't make you wealthy. It only protects you. To build, you need your money earning while you sleep, and you need more than one stream feeding the river. The man who depends on a single source of income is one bad day from ruin. So you build skills that pay, then you build a second stream, then a third. You take the gap between earning and spending and you put it into things that grow, assets that produce more money without your constant labor. The goal is the day your money works harder than you do. Before any of that, you invest in the one asset that pays the highest return of all, yourself. The skills in your head, the knowledge you carry, the ability you develop. No market crash takes those away. No thief steals them. A man who knows how to create value will always find a way to make money, even if he loses everything. So you read what others won't read. You learn what others won't learn. You become so good, so capable, so undeniable that opportunity has no choice but to find you. The most valuable thing you own is your own competence. Sharpen it relentlessly and understand where money truly comes from, because most men have it backwards. You don't get paid for your time. You get paid for the value you create and the problems you solve. The man who solves small problems gets paid small. The man who solves problems that matter to many people gets paid enormously. So stop asking how you can work more hours and start asking how you can become more valuable. Raise your value, and the money follows as a consequence, not as a favor. The market does not pay for effort. It pays for results. Become the man who delivers results no one else can, and you will never again wonder where your next opportunity is coming from. And let me give you the hard truth about wealth that nobody enjoys hearing. It is slow, it is boring, it is built through consistency, not through one brilliant moment. The man who wants to get rich quick almost always ends up poor, because the same desperation that drives him toward shortcuts drives him toward ruin. Real wealth is a long, patient accumulation, decision after decision, year after year. It rewards the disciplined and it punishes the impatient. So make peace with the slow build, because the slow build is the only one that lasts. Chapter 3. Habits. Which brings us to the engine underneath everything, your habits. Because here's the truth that should change how you see yourself. You are not what you occasionally do. You are what you do every single day. Your habits are voting every hour for the kind of man you're becoming. Most people lose their lives not in a single dramatic failure, but in the small, daily surrender of standards. They don't choose their future. Their habits choose it for them. Understand this, and you understand everything. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when you don't need it and vanishes the moment you do. The men who build extraordinary lives do not rely on feeling motivated. They rely on systems and discipline that function whether they feel like it or not. Discipline is simply doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to, particularly when no one is watching. The day you stop waiting to feel ready is the day your life begins to change. So how do you actually build a habit that holds? You make it small enough that you cannot fail. Most men try to change everything at once, burn out in a week, and conclude they have no willpower. That's not a willpower problem. That's a strategy problem. You start with something so small it feels almost laughable. 1 page, 1 push-up, 1 focused hour. You build the identity of a man who shows up first, and you scale the size later. Consistency beats intensity every time. The man who does a little every day destroys the man who does a lot occasionally. And you have to be honest about the habits that are quietly killing you. Every man carries a few. The late nights that steal his mornings, the substances that dull his edge, the distractions that fragment his focus, the company that drags him backwards. You cannot build a great life on a cracked foundation, so you identify the worst one, the single habit doing the most damage, and you go to war with that one first. You don't try to fix everything. You remove the keystone of your dysfunction and watch how much else improves on its own. You have to understand how a habit actually forms, because once you see the machinery, you can control it. Every habit runs on a loop, a trigger, the action, and the reward your brain remembers. The reason your bad habits feel automatic is that you've repeated that loop 1,000 times until it runs without your permission. So you become a man who engineers his own loops. You attach the habit you want to a trigger you already have. After this, I do that. You make the good action easy and immediate, and you make the bad action difficult and delayed. You stop fighting your own brain and start programming it. The man who understands the loop is no longer a slave to his impulses. He is the architect of them. Your environment matters more than your willpower. And this is where most men fight a war they could have avoided. If the temptation is in your house, you'll eventually give in. Not because you're weak, but because you're human, and human willpower runs out. So you don't test yourself unnecessarily. You design your surroundings so the right choice is the easy choice, and the wrong choice is a hassle. You remove the junk, you put the book where you'll see it. You make discipline the path of least resistance. A strong man doesn't rely on strength alone. He stacks the conditions in his own favor. And watch your company, because the people around you are the habits you haven't noticed yet. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their standards become your standards. Their ceiling becomes your ceiling. If you surround yourself with men who make excuses, you'll learn to make excuses. If you surround yourself with men who demand more of themselves, you'll be pulled upward whether you intend to or not. Be ruthless about who gets close. Some relationships are an anchor, and you cannot rise while you're tied to the bottom. There's one more thing about habits that separates the men who change from the men who keep starting over. You will fail. You will miss a day. The question is not whether you stumble, it's what you do the moment after. The weak man misses once and decides the whole thing is ruined, then uses that single slip as permission to abandon everything. The strong man misses once and returns the very next day without drama, without self-pity, without making it a story. Never miss twice. 1 mistake is an accident. 2 is the beginning of a pattern. Build the habit of returning, because in the long run, the man who always comes back is unstoppable. Chapter 4. Health. And now we arrive at the foundation that holds all the others up, your health. Because here is what every ambitious man eventually learns, usually too late. You can have the time, the money, and the discipline, but if your body breaks, none of it matters. Health is the one form of wealth that, once lost, money struggles to buy back. The richest man in a hospital bed would trade every penny to stand up healthy again. Treat your body as the engine of everything you want to build, because that is exactly what it is. Start with the thing most men neglect and pay for dearly, your sleep. There is nothing impressive about running on no rest. Sleep deprivation doesn't make you tough. It makes you slow, irritable, and stupid. And it sabotages every decision you make the following day. The men performing at the highest level protect their sleep like it's part of the work, because it is. You are not too busy to sleep. You are too ambitious not to. Guard those hours and you'll think clearer, move faster, and last longer than the men burning themselves out. Your body was built to move, and a body that doesn't move slowly turns against you. You don't need to become an athlete. You need to become a man who trains consistently, who lifts something heavy, who walks daily, who keeps his body strong enough to carry the life he's building. Physical strength bleeds into mental strength. The discipline you forge in training transfers directly into every other area of your life. A man who can push through one more rep when his body screams at him to stop has built something that no comfortable man will ever possess. And you are what you put into yourself, plainly and without exception. Most men poison themselves slowly with garbage and then wonder why they feel exhausted, foggy, and weak. You don't need a complicated plan. You need to stop eating what's destroying you and start eating what fuels you. Real food. Enough water. Less of the junk that spikes you and crashes you. Your brain runs on what you feed your body, and you cannot think like a sharp man while eating like a careless one. This isn't vanity. This is performance. But health is not only physical, and the man who ignores his mind pays a tax he can't see. Your mental state is the lens through which you experience your entire life. Stress, left unmanaged, will corrode you from the inside. Your sleep, your decisions, your relationships, your body. So you build the practices that keep your mind steady. Time in silence, time in nature, time away from the noise. A man who cannot sit alone with his own thoughts is not free, no matter what he owns. Master your mind, and the external chaos loses its grip on you. And understand that your energy is the currency behind every other thing on this list. You can have all the time in the world, but if you have no energy, you'll waste it. You can have the perfect plan, but if you deplete it, you won't execute it. Everything you want to build is paid for with energy, and your health is the account that energy is drawn from. This is why the man who neglects his body eventually fails at everything else, no matter how disciplined his mind. Protect your energy like the foundation it is. Cut the things that drain you. Build the things that restore you. A man with deep reserves of energy operates on a level the exhausted man can't even comprehend. So here is where it all comes together. Time, wealth, habits, health. These are not four separate projects. They are one foundation, and you do not get to skip the foundation and build the empire. The man who masters these four governs himself, and the man who governs himself can govern anything. Stop chasing what you're not yet ready to hold. Build the beast. Become undeniable in private, long before the world ever applauds you in public. Start today, start small, and do not stop. The life you want is on the other side of the discipline you've been avoiding.